Memory, it's a funny thing. Black Mirror, and this time we're talking about Eulogy. So this one stars Paul Giamati, who is a fantastic actor, and he's fantastic in this. He's fantastic in everything. Um, and we follow a man who has just been notified that someone he knew when he was younger has passed away, and whether or not he wants to contribute any images to the eulogy. And what we learn as we go is that he knew this woman very well when he was quite a bit younger, but things ended badly, and he destroyed most of what he had. What pictures he still has with her, if they showed her face, he cut it out or burned it out or scribbled all over it so you couldn't make her out anymore. And what few remain, she's got her back to the camera because it was like at a party, or she's not actually in, but he knows where she was relative to everything that is seen when the picture was taken. And through that lens of trying to find something usable, well, that's the initial premise, but he eventually realizes he wants to remember at least some of this more than he does, because he doesn't remember her face anymore, and he doesn't have a reference image to help him recall. In some ways, this feels a little bit like a complementary piece to two earlier ones, The Complete History of You and Crocodile, all of which deal with human memory, in one way or another, the fallibility of it, in goods and bad ways. So, like, Complete History of You is basically a story about why humans should not have infallible memories. And if we did, it'd be really bad for us. And Crocodile was a bit more of a harrowing look at an application of, if you could look at exactly what someone remembers, how might that play out in some ways. Whereas this is dealing much more upfront with just the nature of, over time we forget things or we remember them selectively. And I think this is absolutely beautiful. I really, really loved this episode. I thought this was astounding because, without sugarcoating, in fact, dealing up front with the way in which we mythologize our own past through the things that our memory has emphasized, sometimes by choice, because we have formed a story in our head of what happened, and that's what we lean in on, even if that's not what happened. And I like that it's not dealing with like a fallible memory in terms of, like, oh, here was this horrible thing you did that you forgot. Like, he hasn't fully forgotten. You can tell when he just starts talking about it that he remembers some of what he did, but how he has chosen to remember it is through the lens of her hurting him. And that's where his emphasis is. And exploring that more, and especially through the lens of, like, Paul Giamati was brilliantly cast, because I think with an actor with a less inherent affability, there was really the potential to sort of get a sense that this guy, like, oh no, he definitely like treated her badly right off the bat. And while I did suspect that early on, because Giamatti brings so much empathy and pathos to his performance, even knowing that you're probably going to find out like some unpleasant things about their relationship, you still can't help but feel bad as he's revisiting these old memories, or trying to, and in some cases failing, and realizing how scant his own memory is. And maybe part of the reason this hit me the way that it did is that I am at an age where, if I don't still have a visual representation that I can look to of what somebody who was in my life a long time ago looked like, I don't know. I have a memory of what I think they looked like, but it's not anything I have confidence in at all, and that's going to get more so as time goes on. I can remember the name of the very first friend I ever made. Her name was Tanika. And if you were to show me like a random smattering of images of girls about her age at the time that I knew her, this was like preschool, I probably couldn't pick her out of a lineup. I still remember her. I still remember us being friends at daycare. But while I'm at an age where it's that kind of memory, school age memories and teenage memories that are fading and faces that blur and distort and lose their solidity, as I get older, that'll start being my 20s, my 30s, my 40s. And that really connected. Like I cried at a couple points. The first one was, and I'm just going to talk spoilers at this point, because again, I really think this episode is beautiful. When he notices the note on the ground in the hotel room, because they're able to go in and explore these memories, but like they're just looking, and he sees this note that he'd never noticed before, and he didn't notice at the time. And it was for him, written by this woman. And he tries to pick it up to read it. But he can't. Because he can't. It's just an image that was caught on camera, and it's just this folded note. Of course he can't open it. Of course he can't read it. But the desperation that he has, trying to pick this up, trying to hold on, and feel that connection again, and find out stuff that he should have known but didn't. Oh, that hurt. That hurt real good. I also quite liked the, I'm going to put soft twist, that the program he was talking to, who was guiding him through this, was the woman's daughter. My initial suspicion was that it was going to be an AI recreation of, I think her name was Carol, of Carol herself, the woman who passed. That was my initial guess. And I thought that's what the reveal was when she sat down opposite him in that restaurant, in that particular memory. But to find out that it's her daughter, that felt even better, because like she still, he can't ask her, what happened. But she can fill in a few gaps because she knows what her mother told her, which wasn't a lot, but was some. So she can fill in some gaps for him. But if it was Carol, then like she could fill in everything. But this woman can't. But you still get why she's so invested in this and why she's been pushing back on him. And when he's leaned the narrative in a specific direction that favors, him being a guy who was just thrown out. I was a perfectly good guy and she just threw me away. And when he leans too hard into that, she pushes back on him, and it makes sense why. She knows enough to know that he's remembering it wrong. He's remembering it in the way that his ego has insulated him. And at the end, just seeing the woman's face, and it's not some twist reveal, which you always kind of assume when there's a character whose face you don't see. I'm like, which was part of why my guess was like, oh, this is going to be her. Because I'm like, well, if you're hiding a face, it has to be somebody else that we've seen. That's like the way these things work, but it's not. But the moment when we see her face was another moment I cried, because you could see how much it affected him just to see her smile again and remember what she looked like. This little treatise on memory and human fallibility and the lies we tell ourselves and the holes in our own memory that only get wider without being depressing, but while definitely making me cry. This was really, really beautiful. And I would not be surprised if this is my highlight and favorite of the season. I need to think on it, but probably. This is probably going to end up as my favorite episode of the season. This one really got to me. I really, really loved this. Eulogy. What'd you think about this episode of Black Mirror? Whatever your thoughts are, drop something down in the comments. Let's talk about it. Patreon pays the bills and enables me to do this as my living, even if you can't help me out that way. Like, share, subscribe. They all help me out. Don't worry too much about it, though. We take a relaxed attitude around here, so you can just come on back next time you need a break. And now to thank my highest supporting patrons: Robin Moore, Quite Bearish, Zubin Lutfula, Mira G, Angry Casperl, Dave Hall, Andre, Movie Turtle, Oliver B, Welsh Wrestling Geeks, Melissa Pedersen, Mary Mello, Becky Sparks, Loki Eris, Pal Barabajoggle, and Sir Didymus is my favorite. And also Toka Blue Hoovian, Auntie Kate 808, and Tracy Scrabbit. If you'd like to hear me try and pronounce your name correctly while these guys chitter in my ears, check out the reward tiers on the Patreon. Yes, I hear you.